Joined by Office of Emergency Management Director Chief Will Swan and Erica Mitchell from the United Way. In the room, we're also joined by Dina Ivey from the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation and representatives from multiple Metro departments. NES is not with us today. They have a separate media availability at their headquarters at 2:30 p.m. So if you have questions primarily about NES and power restoration, please make sure you attend that event. If there was ever a time to live up to the mantra of Nashville Strong, it is right now. The coalition in this room is indicative of the wonderful strength of Nashville and the ability to partner to get through difficult times. This storm has been unprecedented in so many ways, and today's announcements show that Nashvillians are prepared to respond. We continue to provide shelter and support to Nashvillians impacted by Winter Storm Fern. Last night, our warming shelter served more than 600 Nashvillians, and we provided transportation assistance for more than 400. Just want to remind everyone that you can call 615-401-1712. They provide transportation assistance to warming centers and also provide people with a ride home once power is restored. There is language access assistance as well on that line. Our food distribution partners are also ensuring that those staying in warming centers are provided with warm meals during their stay at the three primary overnight accommodation centers, and our partners around the county have stepped up. We've had World Central Kitchen and local food trucks working together at the three locations of the Fairgrounds, Madison Community Center, and Southeast Community Center. They've been supported at multiple locations also by Second Harvest Food Bank. Our Metro Social Services team continues to make outreach to their clients to ensure they have access to services. And the team is also providing outreach to the warming shelters to get additional support for those needing social services, and they've provided 300 boxes of food at the Nashville Fairgrounds. We also added a new warming center yesterday at Margaret Allen Middle School, and Director Chief Swan will provide more details on those operations in just a moment. In addition to our warming centers, we work closely with the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation and the Greater Nashville Hospitality Association to mobilize their members immediately after the storm. They've been systematically adding hospitality providers offering discounted hotel lodging for residents. Those partners are now part of a central database of dozens of hotels in and around Nashville offering deeply reduced rates for residents needing longer-term accommodations. That list is available at visitmusiccity.com/hotel-local-discounts. Residents without internet access can call CVC directly at 615-259-4700 for help locating available options. That same page also includes updated status information for many local restaurants and attractions, including openings, closures, and adjusted operating hours. And I'd recommend that as people make alternate accommodation plans, that they check the site often as the database is updated frequently. Many of Nashville's hospitality companies have provided support from the beginning of the storm, from donations to warming shelters to free or discounted meals for Metro staff, NES line crews, and those working around the clock. We're incredibly grateful to these companies and employees for their continued generosity and partnership. As we've said from the beginning, this is a historic winter weather event. A level of ice not seen in 30 years resulted in the largest power outage in NES history. But if I know Nashville, I know that our response to this storm and the way we help one another will be historic also. To that end, I'm glad to announce today that in partnership with volunteer organizations active in disaster, our Nashville VOAD process, the United Way and Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee are launching the Winter Storm Recovery Fund. It's now available to help individuals and families affected by the storm to apply for relief. Funds will be used as needed to address current needs and emerging needs, such as food and supplies. In the coming days, once community needs can be assessed, funds will be used for cleanup and debris removal. If you want to donate, the QR code we've got available on the screen today is the easiest way to get a contribution to the fund. If you have an unmet need, encourage you to call United Way's 211 hotline for available resources and support. 211 is a free and confidential service that helps connect people to local resources available to help in times of crisis and beyond. Dial 211 or text your zip code to 898-211 to get started. The 211 line is already fielding about 50% more calls, so please, as with all of the services we're bringing online and expanding, remain patient and stay on the line when you do call. Yesterday, as a part of this, FOED also launched their needs tracker for Davidson County, where residents can put in needs and the storm damage they're facing, and as resources become available, a VOAD team member will reach out directly. The needs tracker is at NashvilleResponds.com. We're working hard to create a complete support system for Nashvillians affected by the storm, and we couldn't do that without key partners like United Way. I'd now like to invite Erica Mitchell from United Way to share more about how this fund will support Nashvillians who need it. Erica, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mayor O'Connell. First, I want to thank the first responders and linemen who have been tirelessly working in the community during this unprecedented severe weather. As the mayor mentioned, United Way of Greater Nashville has activated the Winter Storm Recovery Fund for Davidson County residents impacted by this week's severe weather. Funds will be used as needed to address current and emerging needs, such as food and supplies. In the coming days, once community needs can be fully assessed, funds will be used for cleanup, debris removal, and other emergent needs. The funds will be dispersed in the following way. We will prioritize funding the Nashville Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster, or VOAD. Those will be funded first, based on the needs we see in Charity Tracker and our 211 helpline. Community Foundation of Middle Tennessee is partnering with and will assist in fundraising efforts. Hands-On, the volunteer arm of United Way, is also focused on gathering accurate information and preparing to support volunteer recovery efforts once it is safe to do so. Community members in need inside or outside Davidson County are encouraged to call 211 for available resources and support. Again, it is the free and confidential service helpline that people can find local resources they need for help in times of crisis and beyond. Dial 211 or text your zip code to 898-211 to get started. For anyone interested in giving to the fund, please scan the QR code that's on the screen or visit our website at unitedwaygn.org. Now I'll turn it back over to the mayor.
Well, thank you, Erica. United Way is consistently one of our great community partners, and when Nashvillians have needed help, United Way has always stepped up. And I'm proud to announce the first gift to the Winter Storm Recovery Fund comes from our friends at Tractor Supply Company. Their CEO, Hal Lawton, could not be here today, but they have stepped up with an initial $250,000 donation, plus an offer of emergency response supplies to our Office of Emergency Management. This is a locally based company with so many ties to Nashville, and this donation is proof that they're part of our incredible support and response network. Again, looking for good news in this, a response to this unprecedented storm. We've already seen NES restore power to more than 140,000 Nashvillians, and we've plowed with our INDOT crews and their extended support 14,000 miles of roadway. But what's also true is that many of our neighbors still don't have power. There's a lot of work left to do. To reiterate what Erica shared, it is important for Nashvillians to document their need and use that needs tracker so we can get you help as quickly as possible in the areas you most need it. And for more on the operational side of things, I'm going to invite Director Chief William Swan from the Office of Emergency Management to share operational conditions. Thank you, Director Chief Swan.
So good afternoon to everyone. So as we're moving forward in our operations, I want to talk about all of the work as far as going on with the shelters, and also talk about a few rumors that are not true. First, the work that we have at our shelters, both the Madison Community Center, the Nashville Fairgrounds, Southeast Community Center, and then we work closely with our metro schools, and they were so generous to allow us to use Margaret Allen Middle School for the overflow. As the mayor stated earlier, a total of 413 personnel, people that we had in the shelters. Last night, transports, 430 transports was made by collaborations between the Nashville Fire Department, Metro Police Department. We've had additional help through our WeGo, Metro Schools, and also the Sheriff Department. That is a feat that needs to be mentioned and recognized. A total of 625 people was moved from their residence to one of these shelters. I know when the early part of building this, the sheltering system out, there were some moments where we had to gather resources and evaluate what area was in most need. And there were times where we had to move a few cots from one shelter to another. That is absolutely true. But yesterday actually last night, we finally got to a very stable condition in all of the shelters where we have multiple cots, blankets, never had an issue with food or, again, a place to get out of the code or water. So we are in a very healthy state. The Red Cross actually got additional staff to assist us. Again, these shelters were never unstaffed. They always had staff members either from the Red Cross or your local emergency responders and so many other helps. We've got looking forward to the health department who are doing the medical triage at these shelters. We have social services services that we can provide for them. We understand people's concerns, but again, we're there to provide a place to get people out of the code. And even though it is uncomfortable times for everyone, especially those who don't have power, but I will reiterate what I said yesterday, that you are not without hope. If you need a place to go, call the number that we provide so we can get you to a place where you're safe. If you have an emergency, call 911 and we will respond. Again, numerous food organizations and local restaurants are coordinating with the Red Cross and Second Harvest Food Bank to supply additional meals at these shelters. As I stated earlier, Metro Public Health continues to staff our shelters and provide nurses and mental health professionals. Metro Police Department, they have, under the care of Chief Drake, they have additional patrolling. Since the power outage, they have additional 105 officers that will be making patrols just to make sure people feel comfortable and safe in all neighborhoods, and also assist with transports. We have a few warnings that we want to put out. Number one, pertaining to using generators. So we know there are a lot of good that comes out of having a generator if it's properly used. But what we've found, this is our fourth potential storm-related death due to a generator. So please, when you're using warming devices, a generator must be used outdoors. And any other type of heating device. We know that there's devices that people have inside their house, the kerosene burners. If your house is not properly ventilated for that, then please make sure that you have a window open or something that proper ventilation can enter into that room or environment. If you already have a structure in your or a preset fireplace in your home, then it's already ventilated because you may have a gas log or something of that nature. So that's fine because it's already designed that way. But just remember, trying to make something that's new and not designed for is very dangerous. Also, we've been reporting that a lot of people have been making a lot of homemade heating devices. I know if you look at social media, TikTok, and these things, it gives you a lot of helpful hints to stay warm in your house. And I'm sure for someone who doesn't have power, it's difficult for it to ignore that. And I'm not saying that it cannot be helpful, but just remember about ventilation and carbon monoxide. You cannot see it, you cannot smell it, but it is a deadly gas and it can kill you. As we move forward through the cleanup with debris, NDOT, they are now making assessments, and hopefully by tomorrow they should have all the assessments done of roadways and areas that need to be cleaned. So debris removal, as you clean up your properties and remove debris, remember to move it to the right. Ensure that it's not blocking any storm drains. It is important that NDOT can get to the debris and move it, but we don't want to cause additional problems. Also, the NDOT workers to clean out debris or move debris or vegetation, remember they cannot go into an area until it's considered safe. That means NES has to clear the fact that the lines are not live. There is a lot of coordination that's been happening between our NDOT, TDOT, and NES partners. We're working in close collaboration with each other to make sure that we make this as efficient as possible. I have heard all of the concerns from all the constituents and our Metro Council members and others of wanting to make sure that their neighborhoods are acknowledged and work is to be done on them. We hear you. And we're trying to make sure that we have every efforts possible to make this happen. It does take time, and I know that is frustrating. We also want to make sure that we understand as we move forward to this cleanup process that we'll be working closely with FEMA. FEMA will have a lot of resources for our small business, our personal properties, things of this nature that's going to help us recover from this damage. But again, make sure that we're documenting and we're keeping close pictures and things of that nature so that we can prove and show what damage is done. Also, we're receiving and want to caution everybody for a lot of the scam alerts. There are a lot of scammers out there. You guys know it. Anytime a disaster or something happened to an area, you have people that will come in and take advantage of citizens at their worst time. Often, good people have a hard time believing that there's bad people out there. And I think at this point, it's very important for us to put this warning out, to make sure that you verify credentials, ask for identification and license and proof of insurance from the contractors. Make sure that you get written contracts. Never rely on verbal agreements. Ensure that everything that you've asked for is put into that contract. Make sure that you don't get rushed into paying before the job is done. Be very skeptical. Beware of contractors who pressure you to make quick decisions. And often, if it sounds too good to be true, then it is. Do your due diligence to not feel like you are pressured or forced to make a quick decision. Also, FEMA is a free process. What we do as public safety is free. Make sure that you're verifying IDs and make sure that if you have any questions or concern, please make sure that that is verified through the proper authorities so we can assist you in making sure that that doesn't happen. Also, we are working closely with our teamer partners. I want to mention that the great collaboration there of all needs that we have in Davidson County. The thought that Nashville-Davidson County will not receive aid from any entity is not true. Director Sheehan and I work closely together. We know that after the mayor of the city expressed what do we need to do to get things back in operation order. Get power restored, streets cleaned, debris removed, anything and everything is on the table. Once the request from TDOT to FEMA, through TEMA, pertaining to getting assistance and help, that also includes our National and State Guard. Nashville is open to that. We have not prevented any of this from happening. It is a process that has to take place. You, as a citizen, cannot just say, I need National Guard or anyone in this street. It has to go through the proper procedure for safety and to keep things organized. So as NDOT works closely with our, as NDOT and NES work closely together, they will work closely together to make the evaluation. Once they see that a need is needed, that request will go up, and then the dispatching out of all resources will come. But remember, it does take time. It's not like you have someone sitting there waiting for that to happen. Even though I know, I've heard it, they're there, they're waiting, and we're stopping it. I just want to just debunk that. That is absolutely not true. We're open to all assistance and help. So I want to make that absolutely clear. Director Sheehan and I talked before I came into this meeting, and the request from the governor, when it went out, that the night that it went out, I'm sorry, someone help me out with that. Today is what? Thursday? So it was yesterday. I immediately called Director Sheehan and said, hey, this is great. The mayor's on board with it. We're open. Please, any help that's needed, we're there. We're open and welcome to it. So that has been already made. And also, additionally, I am going to send a formal letter to Director Sheehan, so he'll have that. Again, the request has been made. It was made yesterday. I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Director Chief Swan, and I want to again share my appreciation to the many employees and partners working to support Nashville during our response, the community partners leaning in to make sure we take care of our community's needs. Again, as a reminder, the Nashville Convention and Visitors Corporation has worked with their partners and members to create a database of dozens of hotels in and around Nashville offering deeply reduced rates for residents needing longer-term accommodations. That list is available at visitmusiccity.com hotel/local-discounts. Residents without internet access can call CVC at 615-259-4700 for help locating available options. The United Way stands ready to support unmet needs in the community. You can reach them directly by calling 211. A winter storm recovery fund is now available, and Tractor Supply has donated $250,000 to start the fund already. To donate, again, you can go to the QR code here or visit the United Way's website. To receive support, contact the United Way by dialing 211 or texting your zip code to 898-211 to get started, or visit NashvilleResponds.com to start categorizing your needs. The fund is one of several resources that we will be standing up, so we encourage Nashvillians to follow a few steps. Save receipts of any expenses incurred during the storm. Take pictures of damage to your home or other property. When you clear debris, put it on the edge of your property, out of the right-of-way and off the sidewalk. But it's important to put it there because it actually gets weighed and helps each Nashvillian get as much help as possible from FEMA during the recovery process. The term Nashville Strong speaks to a resilience within our community that's inspiring and also necessary. It gives me pride every day, and as I said before, this storm has been historic and unprecedented in its impact, and our response is also unprecedented. We have the resources to meet Nashvillians' most urgent needs if they still lack power, so please do not feel like you're going through any of this alone or don't have anyone who can help. Nashville, I want to say thanks to everyone who's pitching in right now, and know that we're working every moment to ensure you're taken care of and feel the community's arms wrapped around you. With that, we'll take questions. Alex, I'm going to let you moderate.
Thanks, and before we get to questions, Kelly, I'll give you the heads up. We'll start with you today. But police spokesperson Don Aaron is in the back of the room and handed me this note just related to the fourth death that Chief Swan mentioned. It was a 92-year-old man found yesterday on Blank Street. He had a generator powering his small heater with an extension cord, and his family member checked on him yesterday. The generator was not running. He was found deceased inside where it was about 47 degrees. So just wanted to have that context, and Kelly, we'll start with you.
Some of our state representatives have told me that they've been concerned that there's been some delays in bringing more National Guardsmen into Nashville, concern from the mayor's office and some of the council members about how that might spark some fear, uncertainty in the community. Have there been delays with more National Guard coming in due to these concerns? Do we have National Guard here in Nashville? And if so, when were they approved to come into Nashville?
Yeah, thank you, Kelly. I'll say there have been no delays. You've heard it directly from Director Chief Swan. The first thing that our Office of Emergency Management does is assessments. They make sure that they understand capacity, needs, priorities. This is a day-by-day, hour-by-hour planning process that adjusts to weather condition, adjusts to capacity to staff various scenarios, and again, needs where our top priority is ensuring that NES has everything they need to restore power as quickly as possible, and that our roadways and rights-of-way are clear so people can move around the city safely. As we've gone through that needs process, you probably saw the other day when the governor issued an executive order enabling TDOT to work beyond state routes and support NDOT's efforts. That opened up a pathway for National Guard support to arrive alongside TDOT. That process played out through OEM's work with TEMA, and now NDOT and NES can convey those needs directly to National Guard. There are National Guard working actively in Nashville since yesterday afternoon, and there have been no delays. And we understand, just as there are state representatives and members of the delegation that have been seeking more and more support from National Guard, we have also heard from council members and state representatives concerned about that presence. So both of those things are true. There have been no delays, but we've been working overtime to communicate exactly how and why the Guard is being deployed, the mission they're on, which is fundamentally about the city's top priorities right now. Yeah.
Real fast. I do think it's important to mention what their mission is, because I think that's the biggest concern. The Guard's mission is to assist and help, is to remove brush and trees out of the way. So it's to clear a path so that the work can be done by our NES partners to restore power. So that is their only mission. They're not working shelters. They're not doing checks with any individuals. They're not making any other moves, but just their mission, which is to assist with restoring a power, and that is to remove and assist with debris out of the way so the work can continue with our NES and NDOT partners. That's their mission.
And how many do we have here, do we know so far?
We had 40-something.
Yeah, the last count we had, it was around 40-ish. And again, the request will be made, and once it's made, then they'll bring them in as needed. But that has only to do with the request that is made in coordination with NDOT and NES partnership. Once they see that need, they request it, and then that starts the ball rolling of getting the help in. They're there for just to help remove trees and things out of the way.
Yeah, go to Jason next.
Mayor, you mentioned that NES is not at this press conference today. They have another press conference coming up. Just curious, did your team invite NES to be here today? And just curious about the thought process behind that.
Yeah, we have been eager to see NES continue to increase the amount and type and delivery and overall effectiveness of their communication. And I think today with a memo from their CEO and this separate media briefing, we're seeing exactly that.
And just to follow up on that, from your standpoint, overseeing this response, overseeing this city, where do you feel that NES leadership and their response has reflected well on Metro Nashville, and where do you feel that has fallen short?
Well, I think to get to about 50% of the largest outage in their history recovered within 72 hours, more than 100,000 power restorations that they accomplished, and the number of line workers, the fact that this is their largest ever number of line crews out with line workers and vegetation support ever, I think that's a sign of their success. I think the thing we've been looking for is the same thing that Nashvillians who still lack power have been looking for, which is help us understand which communities they're in, how much work is actually being done, how difficult the circumstances on the ground are at each outage site. Help us with data, help us with visuals, help us with all those things. And so I hope that that's what we're going to see starting at 2:30 today.
Jeremy.
Mayor, question for you. At this point, people in the city who do not have power have absolutely no idea how long they're going to be without power. And they are faulting NES for that. They are saying that NES botched this restoration. I'm wondering what you say to those people who have no idea if it's 1 day or 5 days until they have power.
I'd say that's exactly what we're also looking for from NES, is indications of which parts of the city, if any, might be behind, like can we start to, just in the same way that OEM has been doing day-by-day assessments, looking at how many shelters we might need to open, how to deliver transportation assistance, to do all those things, we need to start understanding that from NES more directly. And so I guess I would say it this way. I have incredible appreciation for the hundreds of NES line crews that are out there that are their employees who have been working 24/7. The fact that they've been joined from communities from multiple other states, same thing, working 24/7. The speed with which they got through 100,000 is great. We know they still have about 90,000, a little less, I think, as we walked in today, to go to get restored. And we know they're not going to stop until everybody is restored. But I think now it's that question. I know we're at that point where our family was at 6 years ago in the March 2020 tornado. We lost power for 5 days. On day one, we didn't know when it would come back on. Day two, we didn't know when it would come back on. By day 5, when it did come back on, we had weathered it out through a cold snap, and it was a great moment when we did get power back. But every day that you're kind of wondering and waiting is a day where that frustration and anticipation builds, and it can for homes in precipitously low temperatures, where the temperature inside can be even colder than outside when the sun comes out. We know that frustration actually escalates to fear, and that's what we want to make sure we're getting that part of the response communicated to as many people as we can.
I want to point out that, and we can't compare our response to Atlanta and what Georgia has faced, because we got it much worse than they did. But in Georgia, they had 100,000 people without power on Sunday. By Monday, the majority of them have been restored. So how do you compare how quickly they did it to how long it's taking us?
Jeremy, this is all about ice. This is about ice on the lines and where our coating of ice was. And this is why, if you quantify this in terms of things, this is a historic event. We haven't had this much ice on trees, on power lines, on utility poles since the mid-90s. And so with more people out, I think you're looking at just the sheer number of downed trees. Now, we could compare notes, but I know a lot of other communities that I've talked to, mayors across not just Tennessee but other regions, understand that Nashville got hit uniquely hard here, and that's a difficult part.
NES was prepared. Was NES prepared to handle this?
I mean, I would put it this way. No one is prepared for historic events, because you can't just be on the day that the unexpected and magnitude happens. You can't be fully prepared for that. Were they prepared to scale up with using mutual aid contracts and working with partners like IBEW to bring in more labor? Yes, they were. But I mean, if you go around the city and look at the damage on hillsides where there is incredible tree density, it's very, very difficult to be fully prepared for things that are unprecedented.
Karen?
Mayor, so you keep mentioning unprecedented, and it appears that you're saying that NES leadership was, successful given the circumstances. Now, I'm wondering, as you as the mayor that appointed the NES board, and I understand that it's a separate entity, is there anything that you feel that NES leaders could do better for the upcoming winter storm, potentially maybe even speaking to those NES board members to potentially put some pressure on NES leadership?
I've reached out to the NES board chair, and I'll just note, folks on a lot of our boards serve multi-year terms, so we've only had a couple of appointment opportunities in this term. So there is this unusual thing where a lot of our public or quasi-public entities have mayoral appointments, but that I haven't summarily appointed every member of the NES board, but we work closely with them too. You saw there was an NES board meeting earlier this week. We're conveying the same thing. Show the work, tell the story, help people understand. Even if it's bad news, share the bad news, because it's better to have that than just no understanding of what is going on.
Follow-up. So just to hone in on my question, so you're saying that this is unprecedented.
Yes.
Understandable. That now we kind of know what the scope is based on just these outages and what people are going through. So based on what we've been dealing with here, what do you feel about NES leadership changing their protocol to be potentially better equipped to handle this kind of ice storm?
I think We're going to do an after action. We're still in the middle of this, so I don't want to prejudge it. What I've seen operationally is that they have been not just pushing their own resources, but escalating day by day. As they get the opportunity to bring more line workers on, they are doing it. As they get the opportunity to bring on more vegetation assistance, they are doing it. As they work with NDOT, TDOT, GUARD to get to clearance points, they're doing all of those things. I think the thing that would help everybody is understanding, yes, predicted timelines, maybe even the visualization of how difficult some of these scenarios are to get to restore lines. If you have been around the city, you've seen what I've seen, which is trees just entangled in power lines all over the city, and that is just a very, very challenging infrastructure dynamic to deal with. But they need, I think, to continue helping the city understand exactly the challenges they're confronting.
Got about 10 more minutes left. We'll try to get to as many as possible. Emily, yeah.
Point of clarification and then this question. Clarification. The governor sent in the disaster declaration request. Has it been approved? And if so, just because if it hasn't been approved, is FEMA actually here and engaged with the city, or will that not happen until it's approved?
I just saw that disaster declaration request, the expedited request, this afternoon right before walking in here. Don't know yet if it's been fully approved, so we'll have to figure that out from the governor's office and federal partners.
Have you had any communication with the administration?
With the governor's office?
Sorry, the other one.
The other administration. We have not, well, we've talked to our congressional delegation. I've talked to Senator Haggerty. I've talked to Congressman Rose, been in touch with Congressman Van Epps. They are offering to be helpful here, have not talked directly to the White House. Last week we did get outreach from the Office of Intergovernmental Assistance, but I don't know. And Director Chief Swan, you may have more in terms of where TEMA and FEMA have been.
Yeah, and I think, Jeremy, you spiked a question that I want to make sure that I can touch up on real quick. But when we talk about going into this week, I just want to mention we know that this weekend, tomorrow, Friday, and Saturday and Sunday, we are going to be facing some colder temperatures. It's going to drop back down into those single and digits at night, especially Saturday night being the coldest night. So I said this yesterday. I want to re-emphasize it. If you've got a option to not be in your house if you don't have power, but you're waiting for power to come on, but you've got an option to go somewhere else, go ahead and pull that. Go somewhere else. Go to a neighbor, friend, or whatever, or call us for sheltering. But point here is don't sit around and wait, because I know that in itself can create frustration. I just want to mention that. But again, so please, we understand. We build up, we've got a fourth shelter, so if that's the case, please utilize it, but do not wait. And then as far as touching bases with TEMA, Director Sheehan and I are, again, we talk every day, and from our standpoint, any assistance that is offered with the understanding of what the mission is, from GUARD members or anyone else, we're open to it, and that has been understood through the Office of Emergency Management and our TEMA partners.
I guess just for that disaster declaration, though, have you heard anything?
No, I'm sorry. No, I have not. I have not.
Mayor, the other storm that folks keep comparing this to is 1994. Setting aside the obvious technological changes that have happened since 1994, can you point to distinct changes that NES and other aspects of emergency response have made since then, and what more you want to see change?
Sure. And I worked on this when I was on Metro Council, looking at strategic burial of utility infrastructure. And you may have heard Brent say the other day, they're at 25% of that infrastructure buried. It's something that we have been looking at specifically and strategically, for instance, on the East Bank, representing an urban footprint for 8 years. It was something we looked at. And so we will continue to look at that. I think that's one of the biggest things. I think, again, we'll get to after action. We don't know all of the scenarios, but I do think one of the things we want to study is when you have a large region, multi-state winter weather event where everybody's going to need the same resources in terms of line crews. If it's going to be, affecting above ground infrastructure, how can you surge in that when it's affecting everybody? Or if, for instance, what we know here is We thought the forecast showed Memphis was actually going to hit harder by ice. They did not, and so they were able to send some of their line crews here. Sort of how can we improve that real-time decision-making and adjust on that basis? That's something I'm going to be looking at.
Are there, I understand after action review it takes time to studies, but what else can you say here and now? This has to change.
I think the thing that we need to change is the ability to offer very quick community-based information about exactly the status on the ground, the work being done, the conditions where that work is being done, just to improve the level of information. Even if you can't say your power is going to be on tomorrow or somebody else's power is going to be on in a week, to understand the conditions on the ground, I think would be really, really helpful.
Let's hear it. Stacy.
Mr. Mayor, you characterize it as a success, NES's ability to get its first 100,000 customers back up in about 72 hours. I think for the 90,000 plus that still have their homes in the dark, they would call what's happened the past few days a failure. Have you got any indication from the NES why so many homes are still without power and why the last 48 hours the restoration numbers have just crawled?
That is what we're hoping to hear more about, I think, in the next hour and a half. We know that they were able to restore power at the places that were easiest to restore, so that even with some additional capacity, the places that are seeing more slow progress or just simply more challenging terrain, they may have just more damage on utility poles. The number of damaged utility poles is now up over 400. I'm going to leave the rest of that for NES to say, and I'll say, I mean, I know this from having previously lived through an experience where we were without power for 5 days. It is very hard to know that neighbors around you have their power restored and you're sitting there wondering why yours isn't. That gap is where we need to do a better job of filling that in with the story of how difficult the work is and what the impact of the work is.
Let's see. Let's go Jonathan here.
Chief, you talked about a fourth death related to a generator and carbon monoxide suspected impacts. Did I hear right? Were the other three suspected weather deaths also related to generators and carbon monoxide?
No. A fourth death. Don Aaron is here if you want to answer that. We've had two related to a generator. The other two were not.
Just cold weather related.
Fourth passing overall.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Go back, Karen.
Winter Storm Recovery Fund. I know you kind of brought that up, but you guys can. Well, you're partnering, but can we just quickly just get a comment from you? I posted this on Twitter, and some people are already commenting just about the city's part in this partnership of actually setting up a fund in what the city can handle in its capacity.
Yeah, we've done this multiple times before, Karen, where we've had recovery funds for previous disasters. And Eric, I might let you talk about how the United Way Community Foundation kind of aligned to create these funds and make them available.
Sure. As the mayor was saying, this is a standard practice for us. We do have standing MOU with the city. We're part of the emergency management response plan, and so when it is necessary, United Way, along with other organizations like the Community Foundation, Hands On, which is also part of United Way, we partner with so that we can provide a fund, and we work with the volunteer organizations active in disaster to help identify those needs. That's a collective organization of multiple nonprofits across the city, about 50 plus, and they have boots on the ground. They're assessing needs so that we can determine where to prioritize funding.
I know, thank you so much. I know food and supplies were mentioned. A lot of people have had to use money out of their own pockets to pay for hotels. And I know it sounds a little bit far-fetched than just, than what you'd think, but I mean, there's a lot of people that are dishing this out on their own. Is this Winter Storm Recovery Fund going to include some money to cover those hotels until the power comes back on?
So one of the areas that we have emphasized in the past, and I would imagine would still continue with the fund today through BOAD, is direct financial assistance. So we have a number of nonprofit partners that work in this space, and so for individuals who are experiencing exactly what you said, there's a pathway forward to receive that kind of assistance.
Thank you.
Karen, we'll have a couple of announcements tomorrow of things we've been working on related to emergency shelter as well. We'll do two more. We'll go Julianne here, and then Cindy will finish with you.
Yeah, in regards to aid from TEMA and FEMA, is there just any more kind of specifics on what that might look like, what kind of things they're doing? Or will be doing?
Right. At this time, again, we're making all assessments, and I know you probably get tired of me saying that, but again, we have to make assessments to see what our needs are. Right at this moment, our focus have been sheltering, food, staffing for the shelters, and making sure that we have all resources in that area. But as we move forward, we start talking about now, as you talk, we activated our VOAD, we Hands on Nashville. We'll be able to make assessments with them. What do we need now? Food trucks, we need chainsaws, we need things to help people get out in the community to help establish more aid. So that's what we're building. It takes step by step. As I said yesterday, you have to analyze, you have to look at what you've got. Then you have to plan on what you've analyzed. Then you implement that plan that you've made, and then you constantly reevaluate it. This is a live footprint. You know, we put things out that we try to accomplish, and if it doesn't work, we pull it back, and we have to start this over again. Analyze, plan, implement, reevaluate. I understand. I've been in this long enough to know that we can do everything right and things still go wrong. We can never move quick or fast enough, but I don't want to disingenuine the efforts of all of those people that's trying to make a difference, and then at the same time have empathy for individuals right now who don't have power and feels as if they're not being heard. So again, as we get those plans and as we implement them or come up, we will make sure that we share those. I also want to mention real quick about after action plans. I know we've talked a little bit about that. When we do an after action, it will give everybody an opportunity to come in and view what we've done. You know, so when you talk about NES or you talk about anyone, you'll do a SWOT analysis. No one is more critical on us than us. So we'll be able to look at things that we did good, what we did bad. We'll be able to put plans ahead so if it ever happens again, we don't make those same mistakes. And I think that would be for anybody to do an after action, including our NES partners and anybody else in that fashion. So it'll help all of us understand some of the frustrations that you may have. When you view the after actions, you may have a better understanding of why it took place. Not to make any excuses. That's just what it's for. Thank you.
But that TEMA coordination is also what I think enabled, once we had the governor's executive order in place, the support, because we knew that we wanted to make sure there were no obstacles to NES accessing sites of power outages. And so having the combination of NDOT, TDOT, TEMA support with National Guard, the extended contracts that NDOT has, I mean, we'll have more crews coming online even tomorrow to work on that. And so that level of chain of command from OEM to TEMA and eventually to FEMA is very important.
Cindy finishes.
Yeah, I just had a clarification question. A press release went out yesterday saying that TEMA had activated the National Guard to do things like health and welfare checks. Just wanted to clarify with Director Swan if that's not happening in Davidson County.
No. So TEMA is statewide. You know, this is Davidson County, and Davidson County objectives for any National Guard member is to, again, help with removal of debris. So they are not doing welfare checks, and they're not running shelters. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.